Hello there, my name is Anna Lundberg. I'm the founder of One Step Outside, author of Leaving the Corporate 9 to 5, and host of the Reimagining Success podcast. And in the past few weeks, we've been looking at different concrete ways in which you can set up your business so that it works for you, and specifically so it gives you all the freedom, flexibility, and fulfillment that you were probably after when you started your business in the first place. Now, I want to shift gears a little bit this week because I want to talk to you about how to avoid burnout as an entrepreneur. I think mental health, of course, is a big topic these days. There's a lot of pressure from social media in terms of the hustle and working harder than ever in your own business, the struggling freelancer, and so on. So I want to unpick some of those myths, but also importantly, make sure you're aware of some of those red flags and how you can set up your business to avoid burnout as much as possible. And in fact, to begin with, the topics we've been covering the last few weeks are absolutely critical to setting up your business in the right way from the start. So we've been looking at business models, creating systems and tools in your business, outsourcing the routine tasks so you can really focus on what really matters. We have looked at getting the financials right, leveraging your time, and then last week we looked at setting up your mindset in the right way, and that's incredibly important too. But I wanted to add to this and talk you through 5 different approaches, strategies to avoiding burnout as much as possible. And the first one is to really get clear on your priorities. Now, of course, if you know me at all, you'll know that I always start with defining success. So you really need to know what you're working on, what's important, and that's going to allow you to make choices. And this is relevant whether it's the big picture of success in your life and your priorities, or right down to the nitty-gritty of a day-to-day basis of to-dos and tasks and projects that you should be focusing on. And that means eating the frog, for example, as Brian Tracy says, doing the most important thing first thing in the morning. It means scheduling those tasks on your calendar to make sure that they get done. And it means setting boundaries and saying no to the things that aren't on your priority list to make sure that you're focusing on those priorities. So number 1 has to be to identify and work on your priorities. Now, number 2 is to run your own race. Now, again, I mentioned social media. It's so easy to get distracted by all these incredibly successful Instagrammers and Facebook entrepreneurs and so on, not to mention all your personal friends and family who might be getting promotions and going on holiday, getting married and all these things. That creates an impossible amalgamation that you're never going to be able to live up to. And so try to shut out that noise, run your own race. You now know your vision, your priorities, head down, focus on those priorities and try not to get distracted by all those other things and what other people are doing or what you think that you should be doing or achieving, because it's just not helpful. Just focus on what you're doing and keep doing what you know that you need to do. Number 3 is to switch off. Learn to switch off. Now, switching off means physically, literally switching off your computer at the end of the day or at the end of when you're not supposed to be working, turning off your notifications. It means closing the physical door to your office if you have a home office. It means taking proper breaks throughout the day, including a real lunch break away from your desk, getting fresh air and so on. And it means planning holidays and weekends and time off from the business. I'm a big fan of work-life integration, but that doesn't mean that you should be working all the time. It's certainly not good for you, it's not good for your business, it's not good for your friends and family either. Now, the next one is to notice your red flags. This is so important. And I'm talking later in the week, both on the podcast and on the blog, about the 12-stage model of burnout that I came across. And a lot of the early signs are actually things that perhaps we've normalised, in particular in that corporate environment and also in the entrepreneurial space. It might be pushing yourself really hard, focusing exclusively on work, neglecting friends, family, hobbies, and so on. So do have a look at those and make sure you're identifying those red flags, the signals early on. So maybe you're not sleeping properly, you're not eating properly and so on. Make sure you act now rather than waiting until you really are physically, emotionally, mentally burnt out, depressed, feeling empty inside and getting to those more serious symptoms of burnout. So we're really talking about avoiding this, preventing it up front rather than allowing it to get so far that you really need medical help, which may be the case, and that's important to consider too. And then finally, speaking of help, I always talk about getting the support you need, and that's even more important in the context of burnout, in terms of running your business and not pushing yourself too hard, because that's the last thing you want to do, work harder than ever before, harder than you did in your corporate job, which is not what we're doing this for. And so there are a few different types of support I recommend. Number one is a peer group, those people who are going to cheer you on, really support you, encourage you, empathise, celebrate the wins with you, and so on. And of course, I'd love for you to join, if you haven't already, my Facebook group, One Step Outside. You can search on Facebook, or you can go to onestepoutside.com/community. And that's a great space where we're supporting each other and really encouraging each other through those natural ups and downs that always will happen. The second type of support is a mentor or coach, specifically on the business, to really help you with the expertise that you need to guide you to focus on the right priorities. Again, to free up your time and energy so you're not getting overwhelmed with all the things you think you should be doing and sort of throwing spaghetti on the wall and seeing what sticks and just doing trial and error. So having someone to really guide you through the step-by-step process, focusing on the right things in your business. And then the final type of support is friends and family, people who have nothing to do with your business, who can really help to distract you, just to have a lovely time with your nieces, nephews, children, partner, whoever it is, friends, family, however you define that, and to really have some nice proper time off and not always be talking about your funnels or your LinkedIn marketing strategy or whatever it might be. So those are my 5 pieces of advice to you, I guess, in terms of addressing and avoiding burnout before it happens, really. Of course, again, if you have reached those final stages and you're really in a bit of a ditch and you're feeling alone, you just can't see a way out and you don't know who to talk to, do please find someone who you trust, speak to them about it, get that medical professional help if you need it. But above all, try to avoid it in the first place. Let's try to pick up on those signs, set up our businesses in the right way to start with, get the support we need, and let's all work together to dispel that myth that being an entrepreneur has to be about hustling, grinding, pushing yourself too far, too much, too hard, and then, of course, struggling both in terms of personal priorities and health, but also in terms of your business. I like to say that if you are your business, then working on yourself is working on your business. So even from a purely mercenary business standpoint, if you're really focused on financials and profit, all the research now says that you're more productive if you work less, not more. So let's take that to heart. Really set up your business in the right way from the beginning in terms of business models and systems and so on, and then try to learn from some of these strategies that I've mentioned today in terms of the day-to-day running of the business as well. If you'd like to talk this through, if you're finding that you are hustling a bit too much, you're not getting the results you want, and you want to avoid getting overwhelmed and working yourself into the ground, then I'd love to have a chat with you. As ever, you can book your call at onestepoutside.com/free consultation, onestepoutside.com/free consultation. We'll have a half-hour chat where you are in your business, maybe looking at your business model, those systems, and how we can set up your boundaries, your priorities to make sure you're focusing on the right things, and again, in this context, avoiding pushing yourself too hard and reaching that burnout eventually. So I hope you found that interesting and valuable. It is an important topic. Thanks so much for listening, and I will see you next week. Bye for now.